Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Megan and I'm a sustainable life and style blogger. And today I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed, as I feel like a lot of people in California and Oregon are also feeling. Over the past 2 weeks we've had 110 plus degree days and fires, and we've had ash raining out of the sky, and if you walk outside even days later it still smells like smoke. I know I personally am feeling a lot of different things. I'm sad for the state of the planet, the state of our world in general. I'm scared for the future. Who knows how often this is going to continue to happen. And I'm frustrated with a lot of the systems in place that have allowed climate events like this to happen. I absolutely have been feeling a lot of climate anxiety, and I'm really consciously trying to get myself out of that feeling, that mindset. Two of the things we need most in this time in the climate movement are hope and action. We need to feel positive about a potentially better future, and we need to do things to get ourselves there. And in times like these, it's really easy to feel frustrated, hopeless, and like you just want to give up. So I wanted to share some of the things that I'm doing to manage my climate anxiety and try to take action and move forward with a bit more hope. The first and most important thing to do is validate how you're feeling. I talk about this all the time in therapy, not related to the environment, just related to myself and my own feelings. But if you are feeling sad or if you are feeling scared, that is a valid emotion, that is a valid feeling, and you need to validate that for yourself. You may have people or friends or family in your life that don't care as much about the climate crisis that you do, and that can be really invalidating to the emotions that you're experiencing, which short-term and long-term is not only bad for the environment, but it's also bad for you and your own mental health. You need to be in a good state of mind and have the both physical and mental energy to be able to fight something as big as the climate crisis. So do whatever you need to do to validate how you're feeling. I like to just talk to myself out loud, like, yes, it's really scary to wake up and look outside and see a bright red sun rising. That's terrifying. And it's okay to feel scared, and it's okay to feel sad about the state of the world. But you shouldn't end there. The next thing to do after you validate how you're feeling is take action in one way or another. This can be something small or it can be a large action. This especially helps when I'm feeling hopeless or feeling like I'm too small to make a difference. Any little thing that I do to benefit the planet is making a difference. So some of the things I like to do are to go out and walks around my neighborhood, assuming the air quality is safe enough, and picking up some trash. Are those like 10 pieces of trash that I pick up around my neighborhood going to save the planet? No. But it is helping to make my community feel like a cleaner and greener space. And that's something you could do anywhere at any time without any resources. If you live near a beach cleanups are also a great option. I especially like those because you're doing it with a group of people most of the time, and to have everybody doing their individual part, going out and picking up their own trash, but then collectively coming together and seeing a huge pile of trash that you've cleaned up from the beach is another like really important feeling. Brings a lot of hope for me, at least personally. And even just getting outside, obviously when it's safe to do so, and during the pandemic things are a little bit different, but getting outside in nature, whether that's opening your window if you're inside, or going out for a walk around the block, or just sitting outside if you have green space. I don't have a ton of green space around me. I live more in a city, and whenever I go on a walk to like drop something off at the post office, I try to be really aware of all of the different types of environment I have around me, even in a more city landscape. So I look up at the palm trees and I look at the ivy that's growing around fences around me, and I just try to be aware of all of the different pieces of nature. It helps ground you, it helps bring you to the present moment, and those are all important things to manage anxiety, but especially climate anxiety. Donating to an organization or joining a climate rally of some kind are also great ways to take action. Something I personally loved to do pre-pandemic was register people to vote. It was a way that I could use my time as an individual to make a much larger impact. Even if those people weren't going to vote for climate policy, I think registering people to vote in general and getting people involved in the political system in the US is important. And I registered a number of first-time voters, helped college students change their address to their college address. I always felt so much more positive about the world when I was getting people involved in that way. Once things the pandemic go a little bit more back to normal and we start having events and things in person, look at the organization head count. That's who I volunteered with. you register voters at concerts. Another really important thing in the climate movement in general, but especially if you're feeling anxious or hopeless about the future, is to find a community. Whether that's joining a club or an organization at your college or joining a local organization if you are out of school, surrounding yourself with people who also care about the same issues as you is so important. I touched on this idea in my How to Be Sustainable in College video when I talked about different clubs or organizations you can join as a student. But I've also been trying to get more involved with some local organizations in my town, like the Surfrider LA. They host beach cleanups, they have film screenings, and that's a community that I want to be part of as a graduate. Brightly.eco is a great resource online with a ton of different sustainability tips and tricks, and they have a Brightly Scouts program, which is like an ambassador program. There's a few thousand people that are part of the program, and you can write articles for their website, connect with the other scouts, and even try out sustainable products for free. So maybe if you're a blogger or somebody who's really interested in sustainable products and conscious consumerism, that could be a cool community to join. I did a training through the Climate Reality Project, which is the Climate Reality Leadership Course, in July, and that was a program where not only was I learning about more of the science and some solutions about the climate crisis, but every night after our trainings, I had a Zoom call with 10 or 15 other people from my area in my age group where we could talk about these issues. I have a mentor through that climate reality training and a group of other people around my age who I can, lean on or talk to at any time. And even simply just following people on social media, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or whatever your social media of choice is, having people on your social media feeds that are talking about these issues can be really important. I follow a ton of people on Instagram, especially who care about the climate crisis and relate to it in different ways. So here are some of the people that I follow on Instagram who I absolutely love and have made me feel like I have a bit more of a community on that app. And the last thing that I do is listen and learn. And this honestly depends on how I'm feeling. Like if I'm waking up and there's ash falling from the sky, I don't really want to listen to a podcast or watch a documentary about the climate crisis. But after some time has passed from whatever event has really sparked my climate anxiety, I do often find comfort in learning more about what causes it and learning about solutions specifically. The other day, the New York Times' podcast, The Daily, had an episode about the fires happening in California, and it brought up an angle of what's contributing to the devastation of the fires in California that I hadn't thought about before. I appreciated being informed of some of the other things in addition to climate change that are contributing to these issues in my state, and I found it somewhat comforting to be a little bit more aware and informed about what's going on in my area specifically. Again, I don't think I would have wanted to hear about that the day that they were really starting to happen, or when it was 115 degrees out, or when I saw ash coming from the sky and as a New Yorker thought it was snowing before I realized it was ash. But now that we're a few days out, I did feel a little bit more comforted having that additional knowledge. I have a few other podcasts and documentaries and things listed in the description where I've learned a lot about the climate crisis and also have left with a hopeful feeling. I think it's also important to find podcasts or films or documentaries that are hopeful by nature. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to is called Hopefully Sustainable, started by a friend of a friend, and every episode is incredibly hopeful. It's really focused on solutions. Jaco, the host, talks to people who have dedicated their whole life to finding solutions to the climate crisis, and people who work at like a car insurance company and try to convince their coworkers to make better individual decisions. So it's a breadth of different solutions and people that she talks to, and I always feel better after listening to that podcast. She also, 2 days ago, just had an episode about climate anxiety and tips for overcoming that, so I loved that episode. Definitely take a listen to it. I'll have that linked below. Something else I love to watch when I'm feeling anxious about the environment, as silly as it sounds, is The Lorax. I rediscovered that movie in March as the pandemic was really starting to get intense and there was just a lot of fear, and I watched it every day for about 2 weeks straight. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that as a long-term coping strategy, but there's something about watching an animated movie that touches on some of the things that you're dealing with in real life that feels more comforting than watching an actual documentary about climate change. I can watch truffula trees being chopped down and the air quality getting worse and worse in an animated movie, but that's like a little too close to comfort for what's happening in real life. So I'm able to take away a lot of the positive messages a lot more easily when I watch the Lorax than when I watch some other kind of purely informational documentary, just because it removes me from reality a little bit. And I think every once in a while we all need a little bit of an escape from reality, but also a reminder of like why we're doing what we're doing, and just a push to continue being positive and to continue toward change. So those are some of the things that I do to help manage my climate anxiety. Obviously, anxiety of any kind is a very personal issue, so take what you think might help you and leave what you think might make it worse. If there are any things that you do that I didn't mention in this video to help you feel more positive and more hopeful about the future and the environmental movement, comment down below. I'd love to hear what helps you, because maybe there's something I can learn or somebody else can learn from your comment. Stick around for more videos about sustainability, and I'll catch you in my next video.